Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Andrew Brazis. I am a business consultant and marketing professional, and the content on this channel is to help improve overall marketing education and mental health around just marketing, business, and entrepreneurship, and also to help you progress through life as an individual in a way that's sustainable for you. So hopefully you love the content coming up, and I will see you on the other side. I am going to talk about websites today. So everybody, if you're in the business world, you're an entrepreneur, you've probably either built your own website or had a website built for you. Maybe if you're new, you're kind of trying to decide whether to build one, what to use. So I'm going to cover some of the basic things about websites, just so you have, some more knowledge on how to get started, some of the do's and don'ts, and what to look out for. So one of the first things I wanted to touch on is why websites are important. So your website is essentially your virtual business footprint. And when we're talking in terms of digital presence, your website is going to send signals out to your social pages, your Google business profile, and all of those social signals help boost your website visibility. But website visibility is a whole nother conversation, so I'm not going to get too in depth on that here. But I really strongly encourage, whether you're a brick and mortar or you're a solopreneur or you're running a shop or a brand, to go out and just get a website. You can build it yourself for pretty cheap, or you can pay someone to do it. Usually it's not so cheap. If it is really cheap, the website market is, I would say, super saturated in my opinion. As someone who builds and designs websites, I see lots of website services, and they don't have proper site structure built into the websites. They charge, $4, $5, $6 grand to build these websites. They're not built with conversion focus in mind. So I'm telling you this because if you're watching this video and you're thinking about getting a website or you have one, you should be careful with who you have build yourself a website. Make sure you're educated on what goes into a website. So what can a properly built website be used for? Websites are really good to either get brand awareness. So if you are a nonprofit or you're a small local shop, your website can be used just to have a place like an in-store business for people to come and browse your products, see what you're about, learn about your cause or your mission and your team. And those are all great use cases. You can also use websites to convert sales. So if you're more of if you're into growing your business, you can use that to create very targeted copywriting and very targeted sales funnels to where you drive website traffic coming in from search or ads, and then you can convert that traffic into opportunities and make money. That's a great use case. That's usually the most likely use case, most likely scenario for your business or just your brand or your journey. And with those use cases in mind, there's really no wrong platform to get into the discussion of which platform to use. This is a question I get a lot. Should we use Wix? Should we use WordPress? Should we use Squarespace or Weebly? All these web tools, they do the same thing in different ways. Some are more cost effective than others. Some are more user-friendly than others. I am somebody who uses WordPress. I have a really good flow on WordPress that makes it really sustainable and easy to use for business owners and entrepreneurs, which, kind of is the half of it. So if you don't know how to use a system for your business, then you're going to have a lot more headache and you're going to have to outsource it, which is more money, which is not something I recommend if you are capable and have the time to learn these things, because really, there's millions of tutorials online on how to use a WordPress website or a Squarespace website, and not everybody has the time to do that. Maybe you're running a side hustle and maybe you're working a full-time job, but learning these systems only take maybe a couple hours a week generally, and if somebody comes in like me and they build that system out, you can also learn from them. So those are all things that I recommend doing. Talking about these platforms, in my opinion, I would say WordPress is my favorite. It's number one. It has the most functionality. It's the cheapest to get into. And so some of the cons with WordPress would be you have to know a lot more up front to make it work. WordPress isn't super user-friendly. There is kind of a cost of entry there as far as information. Moving on to something like Wix. Wix is probably the most common one because it's really easy. It's similar to Squarespace. It's a drag and drop editor. Wix is really good if you're just trying to get something up and out there and started ASAP. However, Wix's mobile version is not as great in the responsive department, meaning when you switch to mobile version, things do not scale appropriately and you can't get as complex with your designs, but it does get the job done. So again, there's no wrong answer here. It's really just about user preference and how much money you have in the bank. So moving on to Squarespace, it's similar to Wix. It's really user-friendly. Up front, I will say, you can kind of do everything in the same place, whereas like you can get your domain there, you can do your hosting there. So some pros for Square, Wix, with these drag and drop kind of template generated websites, they are more beginner friendly. And if you're trying to start a business or you're starting one, you don't know where to start, they are a really good tool. And they do the same end goal as WordPress would. And the end goal here would be, driving traffic to a website and converting that traffic on the website. And then if you're going to do a store, Shopify is a really, really popular one. Shopify actually has some really good integrations, and Shopify is very template heavy. And believe it or not, Shopify does have a lot of extra additional coding required, generally to get it looking the way you want, or you're paying a lot of money. And so I would suggest if you're going to go the Shopify route and you're a new beginner, you're better off going with a good WordPress flow and adding WooCommerce, just because there is a little more time up front, but if you don't have the capital, it's going to be a better fit. And I think it works better in the long term. Not that Shopify's not great. They make millions and probably billions of dollars. Then moving along to hosting. So a lot of people get confused about their domain, website hosting, security, SSL, all what you should pay for hosting. So I wanted to cover some of that here. So your domain is the URL, xyz.com. That's your URL, whatever it happens to be. That's your domain, and that is separate from your website. The way I explain this to people is your domain is like your mailing address, and your website's like your home. So your mailing address, your domain, is essentially the way that search engines are able to find the address for your website. And this is housed in a separate place. It can all be in the same hosting provider, but the way it's set up is it's its own individual thing. So you could have a domain that's not connected to a website, or a website that's not connected to a domain. And then getting into your website, being your house, this is where all your things live. So your content, your call to actions, your email lists, your form for email submissions, phone number, the front end or the back end of what people see of your business or your brand is your website. And when you're paying for these things, your domain generally is a yearly or an annual subscription, and that can range anywhere between $15 to $40 or $50 a year, depending on what kind of domain you get and where you buy the domain from and who you are hosting that domain with. And your website can vary wildly for website hosting. If you're with a marketing company, you're going to look at anywhere between $30 to, I've seen people charge up to $150 or $200 for hosting. So it all depends on what's on the website and how much data you're using. It also depends on the marketing company. You want to make sure that you own both your domain and your website. You want to know what hosting provider they're with. You want to make sure that you own them. And if you don't own them outright, that's an issue, because something that's really common in the marketing world, when they leave their web team, they go, hey, thanks, can you transfer the website over? And the web team says, actually, we own your website. You're going to have to start over again. If you pay for something, specifically a website or domain, that's like you paying for a building to run your store, run your business out of, and then the lease owner says, you can't take what's inside the building because we own that now too, which is, it's crazy. So that's just something you should check. So if you're a business owner and you have, a website or a domain, make sure you own them. If you don't, just ask to own it. ownership's like super, it's so vital. And it's so crazy to me being a marketing professional for the last 5.5 years. The majority of the people that I have worked with, talked to before working with them, they had no idea where their domain was. They had no idea who hosts their website. And if they did, they almost never owned it, which is, it's a huge, huge problem. So talking about websites and website design. Website design is super important because there's a couple of different factors to include here. So most importantly, websites aren't built for the business owner. They are built for the customers, the people coming to the website, and then they're also built for search engines. And so writing that line between the customers you want to attract and then the search engines that you want to trust your website so you're getting seen properly, locally or nationally, depending on what your business is really important. So something that I practice is conversion-focused design. That means we're creating design aspects on your website or on a website to ensure that when somebody comes to our website, they, instead of getting lost on the pages, we know exactly what they're going to do, and we're able to kind of railroad them into making a decision that's going to create more opportunities for the business or the brand. That's super important because a lot of websites that I see even today, they're kind of just put together. And it's like if you have traffic coming to your website and your website's not converting, or that website isn't creating the opportunities that you want to see, there's so many factors that it could be. Not having the proper call to actions on the website could be one of those reasons. And another reason that it wouldn't be converting could be because you're not getting seen either at all on search engines or getting seen by the right people. And getting seen is part of the battle. So in order to get seen, you should build search engine optimization into your website, or SEO. And I'll do a whole video about this because it's super important. But there's site structure, which is how your website is structured on the back end to make sure that search engines are reading it properly. There is things like keywords that are really important, and keyword usage, not just the amount of keywords that you're using, but using keywords that have high volume and high buying intent. High volume being keywords that are searched a lot. That would be something like lawn care near me versus I need my grass cut. And this is kind of silly, but that's, some of the search terms people use. And then that would also fall under the category of high buying intent as well. What you want is keywords that are focused on people who are looking to buy a product or service, or who are interested in whatever offer you have. And then also making sure that those keywords are being searched in the service area, the area that you want to show up in, that are being searched at a volume that's great enough for you to get a conversion. Another important thing about website design is understanding the kind of the brand feel and the aesthetics of a business or a brand. So this goes down to like a branding package. You have a nice logo, you have a good color palette that reflects your logo, and then building that into a website and using those colors in that imagery to explain who your business is. This goes in a lot into like the branding side of marketing, but you want to appeal to those people that you want to work with or that you want to serve. Doing so appropriately is really, really, really important. Getting more into website design is the user experience. So like I said, we're kind of balancing that user experience, and we're balancing the readability and trustability of search engines. And so if we have the proper site structure, and we have good design, and we have design that's conversion focused, and we have our branding and our messaging and our copywriting all dialed in across the board, we also want to make sure it's presented in a way that the user experience, the people that are visiting the site, can navigate it in a way that's easy to understand and easy to get from point A to point B and easy to take action. So all of these things are, really important when you're considering designing a website. And the reason why you should really focus on these things, because if you just put a website together and you put it out there, you're not going to have the sort of traction that you want to grow if you're trying to grow solely through a website. What you can do I am somebody who believes in having multiple lines in the water. So that's, multiple digital assets, your website, running ads, being active organically via social media, Google Business, all those things. These are things that I talk about on the channel. But doing all of this is really, really, really important because, if you were to spend money on an office and run a business through that office, you would want your office to be set up to have a really great work environment. You would want people coming into the office if it was a shop, you would design it in a way that would encourage buyers to buy instead of just coming in and browsing. So what I'm saying is you would structure it in a way that would build it for success. And what I see a lot of people do is they kind of half-ass their website. They'll be like, oh yeah, I know I need a website. And so they kind of just slap something together and put it on the internet. And then they wonder why it's not working. So doing it the right way is really, really important. And by doing it the right way, I don't mean that, like, my way is perfect. What I'm trying to say is you have to ride the balance of user experience and conversion actions and how search engines read your website. And if you do that, you're going to find success on your website. Not immediately, but you will over time. This is a little more advanced, but once you have a website up and it's out in the world and you have the great user experience, you have your branding checked in, you have the design dialed in, it's conversion focused, you understand your target market, you have your copywriting where you want it, you have your keywords set, your site structure is all ready to go, everything's built externally, everything's built internally the way it needs to be, you're making connections externally through socials and Google pages. Another great thing you can do that search engines love to see is keeping your website up to date. And one of the best practices to do this is writing a blog. Now, I have a whole training on blog writing and blog posting. It's super important to keep your website active, posting a couple times a week. But even if you're unable to commit to posting on a blog and writing a blog, which again is super easy with AI now, you can write super effective blog articles that are really authentic to you, your business, your brand, your vision, in a way that's super sustainable, that only takes maybe 20 to 30 minutes a day, maybe more, maybe less, depending on what you're writing about and how much due diligence you've done beforehand. But outside of the blog, some other things you can do to update your website is adding new pages. That's really good. If you're trying to expand your business and you want to cover more topics, you can create more pages for the things that you want to talk about. Essentially, that's what a blog is, but it can be less content that way. You can also go into pages and add images or change things around. And these are all things that search engines really like, especially Google. And if you don't know, Google is in control of 80 to 90% of search, it's kind of crazy. Google is kind of a force in the marketing world because they run a lot of things. So it's super important. And so with that being said, before I go, I've got some more topics coming out, talking about search engine optimization or SEO and how to apply that to your website in a way that's effective. Talking about building out landing pages that are more conversion focused that you can use across the board for building out sales funnels. They're really good for running like Facebook marketing, Google ads, or even organic posts. These landing pages are super great tools to use to get higher conversions in a more focused market. You've made it through the video. If you would like to see some more, there's a video up here for you guys, and also a video up here to check out. If you found the information here in the video helpful or insightful in any way, please share, in your circles, social media, whatever, just to spread the word about what I'm doing. If you have any other types of topics that you would like me to talk about, be it marketing, business, mental health, or just individual wellness, please comment below. I have a whole list of things I'm rolling out here in the next year or so. Thank you so much again for coming through, and I hope to see you guys next time.